It's Tuesday, the 1st of November 2016. I am Robin Yellow and this is Techtasm, episode 35, Apple AirHeads. And with me again, because nobody else is as cheap, is James Woodall.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. How are you this evening?
What must you say this week, James?
Must I say about what?
Well, and that's normally what you say. You say, I must say, and then you say something profound. That obviously hasn't worked this week.
I clearly have nothing profound to say.
Although,
actually, no, I do have to say this. Second Tuesday in a row. So, listener, we say we record on Tuesday. We are, in fact, recording on Tuesday for the second time.
And you can take that all the way to the bank.
You can.
Well, this week, James, we're going to be taking a look at Apple's delayed AirPods, the new MacBook laptops, and Twitter kills off one of its most popular products. And we'll be judging these stories and a couple of others to tell you if they are a Techtasm, which is a blend of tech for technology, and tasm for phantasm, something existing only in a person's mind. So without further Silicon Valley nonsense, let's get on with the show.
It's been an up and down week for Apple. So Andrew Griffin in The Independent has written a story about Apple's AirPods. And for the listener, I don't know if you noticed the announcement of the AirPods on the iPhone unveil, which was 2 months ago now, I think. They are a set of wireless headphones that basically look like normal earphones without the cable. And they were announced alongside with the new iPhone, and we discussed at length Apple getting rid of the headphone jack, and their answer is Lightning headphones or wireless headphones. But interestingly enough, Apple's AirPods, as they were calling them, have been delayed. Now, what's really interesting is Apple generally is very careful when it comes to launching anything, and doesn't talk about things that are not ready to ship, ever.
Something has gone seriously wrong with this product, James.
Something definitely has gone. I mean, what's really weird, though, about this product is they spent $3.2 billion on Beats only to release their own earphones. I mean, that's really interesting. I don't quite understand.
Yeah, but I can buy that. No, I understand that. Beats has it's got a brand for its music service and for its headphones. Its headphones are kind of big, either over the ear or on the ear. I don't think the Apple AirPod, being, as you said earlier, which is basically, what was the headphone that came before it, which looked like it with a wire coming out of it? What was its kind of launch name for that?
I think they were just AirPods.
Earpods, that's it. So what they've done is they've cleverly taken the earpods and got rid of the wires and called them AirPods. Or are they AirHeads? Because clearly, as you said, they've launched something which didn't work.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, The Independent, who wrote the story, said that Apple had in fact given out early versions of the AirPods to various journalists, and there were no noticeable problems with them. Which is really interesting. I mean, what's funny about these particular headphones is Apple have actually built a new chip. They've got a thing of doing this. They've built a new chip that specifically powers these, and in fact, that chip has gone into Beats headphones that have actually shipped. So it just does seem a little bit strange as to what could possibly be holding them on. I mean, there's a kind of like caveat to this story, only announced a couple of hours ago, which is the company supposedly behind the AirPods, which is Inventec, who you may or may not be familiar with in your day job. Inventec supposedly are the manufacturers of the AirPods, and they've announced a surprise 7% growth in profits for early 2017. So the rumours are pointing that the AirPods are not actually going to come out until January. So it's kind of a little bit, I mean, what's going on there? The Apple camp doesn't seem quite so rosy. I mean, this kind of comes off the back of a 15-year low in profit reporting on the latest financial results. So,
yeah, but I can kind of look. I mean, as we said before, well, we're not covering the story of Apple's results this week, but I was expecting them to be low because of the cycle they're in. They've just launched the iPhone 7. The figures weren't going to contain iPhone 7 numbers, so I was expecting a lull. I think it's conflating two things which aren't connected by saying this AirPod failure is in any way sort of connected to a general malaise at the company, which is meaning they cannot deliver on the promises that they're actually making at their launch event. I suspect it could be something as mundane as the batteries don't last very long, or there's some design element of it which Johnny Ive isn't quite happy with. I mean, there could be a perfectly innocent explanation in line with the way Apple have delivered products to date, which explain this completely. We're kind of being pessimistic here on Techtasm, aren't we, James, and assuming it's something catastrophic?
Yeah, sure. I think the difference is Apple aren't normally known for unveiling products that before their time. I mean, it's very rarely happened. Normally, when Apple announces a product, it's available to buy that week. This is just an interestingness because it just rarely happens. I mean, the original iPhone was one of those products. The first Apple Watch was announced 6 months before it came out. But these are rare things, I mean, if we can move on, what did in fact get unveiled recently was the new MacBook, which... Now,
you've been waiting for this for quite a long time, James.
I have. I've been saying that I'm again on my day job, I've been looking to upgrade my work laptop, and I've been holding off for the latest MacBook, but mainly because Apple's cycles are so long that hang on, for some reason I've got.
You've got what?
I had. That was really weird. You may have to cut this one out, Robin. I had
barking dog?
I had a browser window that I couldn't find, so I've just had to close them all down.
Well, let me fill in for you. Now, the refreshed Mac Pro line.
Yeah, let me just get my history back.
They've taken the wraps off it. It comes with something I know you've been waiting for, which is the long-rumoured OLED panel.
Yes.
And the increase in the hardware specs up to the larger SSD model. But it has lost something, hasn't it, James?
Yep, it's lost the HDMI, it's lost the SD card, it's lost the power adapter. In fact, it's gained four USB-C ports, which is very interesting. What's compatible with USB-C? Barely anything.
Yeah, but they've learnt from the MacBook, which only had the one USB-C port.
Yes.
And obviously, in response to users' demands for more ports, they've put 4 in, which I think is good.
Yes. No, it makes perfect sense. From that perspective, however, the problem is, I mean, if I take my current MacBook today, I've got both 2 mini DisplayPort outs and a HDMI, so I can run 3 monitors from my MacBook today without any adapters.
Yes, but you can do that with USB Type-C.
Yeah, sure, but I've now got to buy 3 adapters.
Well, that's right. That's how they make their money.
They're $50 each.
I know. And also, in pounds, the cost of these, the MacBook Pros have gone up by £500.
Yes, it's completely ridiculous. I mean, they start now at, if you want the 15-inch variant of the new MacBook, it starts at £2,350. I mean, that is ridiculous. But we haven't spoken about the touch panel. Now, so most laptops today come with a row of function keys. And those function keys... F5 normally for browser refresh, F2 for edit, that kind of thing, F1 for help. However, not many people actually know what they're for. So what Apple have done is they've gotten rid of the function key bar and they've replaced it with a context-sensitive touchpad with a screen behind it. So it's
a touch-sensitive OLED, isn't it?
Yeah, so the idea being that the application that you're in, let's say you're in a web browser, your favorites will go in there. Let's say you're typing an email, you get some emojis or spell check hints or whatever in there. It's all about helping you in the context of the application that you're currently in.
It's like a mini second screen.
It is. But they're very clear to say it's not a secondary display. And it's also not a touch display in the sense that a tablet would be. It's a peripheral. It's like a mouse or a keyboard. It's an external device to help you with your PC. And that's really interesting because a lot of Windows manufacturers are moving towards, and I think Chromebooks are as well, the concept of having a complete touchscreen. And Apple have said publicly that they're not going anywhere near that. So what's interesting is this is kind of like a go-between. I mean, they've got some really great examples of how it could be used. So when looking at photos, your film strip can be on the display, and you can flick between photos using the film strip and have the entire display taken up with the photo that you're looking at. I mean, that's really nice. But they have also made it clear that they don't know yet what it's going to be used for, and let's wait to see what third-party developers do. So
you're right. It is an interesting departure from both Windows, of course, which is moving towards the Surface Book, Windows Surface model of a full touchscreen, and to a lesser extent Chromebooks that, of course, in order to support the Android ecosystem, which is coming in 2017, that only really flies if you've got a touchscreen. So actually touchscreens are becoming cheaper and more common now on every other device, and it's fascinating to see Apple going the other way. But
I mean, they're a very thoughtful company. They don't do anything on a whim. I think they've probably got a really good reason for doing this. So, yeah, I'm thinking maybe they're onto something with this one. But then I need to see it, and I will be getting one if the stars align. So I guess we'll have to take a look. I mean, look, from what I do, being an iPhone developer, you've got no choice but to get Apple hardware. It's annoying. But that's just kind of the way it is. So I either get two machines or I get one, and that one happens to be a Mac. So,
Yes. Outside of professional, where of course they've always got a great market and they've always got people who are going to buy their equipment, I wonder how much of a home the MacBook Pro will have in the consumer space. Certainly, it's going to have a gorgeous screen. It's going to have, it's going to have all the usual sort of design touches that you get on a MacBook Pro. They're going to make it fabulous. I just wonder whether they've lost the plot a little bit with this gimmicky bar. I know you're trying to love it, but it feels gimmicky to me. It feels like something that's a little bit silly, and I'm not sure. I mean, it kind of sits uncomfortably between some physical keys on the row or in the space that was previously occupied by the function keys. They've kind of left, as far as I can see, a few keys to the left and to the right. On the right, it's sort of got, volume and screen lock.
No, it is a complete screen. It's a complete screen.
Oh, hang on. So the whole thing,
left to right, edge to edge, is a complete screen.
Oh, that I did not know. Okay. Right. I understand. So actually, what the function keys are is totally determined by the context. That's left to right. The fact that it's got a strip in the middle, which has got color images and a slider, is all down to the software.
Correct. Yes, that's the idea. And in fact, they've even managed to embed a fingerprint sensor into the power button on the top right-hand corner. So if you're making purchases using Apple Pay, and Safari browser, of course, supports Apple Pay by default, you can use your fingerprint on your laptop. Now, I know fingerprints on laptops are not a new thing, but they've only ever been used in the past for logging onto your PC. What they're able to do now is, application developers to use it to authenticate for things within the apps. So that's an interesting way forward, and I guess we'll look to see how that's going to get much adoption. Really, I mean, look, this is only going to be useful though when third-party developers actually get their hands on it. So I guess we're going to have to wait a few weeks or months to see what happens there. But truth be told, I'm quite interested.
Well, let's wait and see.
So, moving on, we've got BBC. This is a named BBC journalist, believe it or not, Chris Fox, talking about how Twitter has axed its Vine video service. Have you ever used Vine?
Do you know, I have. I used Vine when it came out. I thought it was silly, the idea of 6-second videos. And then kind of a week or two later, I thought, no, actually, I can see why people want to do this. Because in the same way that Twitter forces you to put your express yourself in 140 characters, and that's good because it promotes brevity and forces you to be a bit, more hard on yourself to actually get the message across quickly. I thought, well, actually, the 6-second video is quite good. And then my son watches Vines. He watches them on YouTube, which is odd, but he watches Vines, and they're very ultra compressed and appeal to a certain type of person, like Vine star Charlie Murphy. I didn't even know Vine star was a thing, but apparently it is.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm not a user at all. What's interesting about Vine? A couple of facts for you. They launched in 2012, but they were bought by Twitter before they even launched. They were bought for $30 million before they launched. What the hell? That is ridiculous. I mean, well done to the founder, but crikey, that is absolutely incredible. What's interesting about Twitter is that they've announced, I mean, being a public company, they have to announce a lot of this kind of stuff, and they are cutting 9% of their workforce at the moment. They've been having a lot of problems with retaining users on the service. I mean, you point out every week that Twitter's only used by journalists, and I guess the problem is that they are moving. It's not really the end thing. I mean, we did speak a couple of episodes ago about how big companies today are very faddy. Facebook certainly has an issue with retaining users because people don't really use Facebook as much as they did. Maybe Vine is just a way of Twitter kind of cutting a few of the strings somewhere.
Well, to me, the real story, James, isn't the fact that they're cutting Vine. The real story is that they've got bigger problems at Twitter.
Yes.
And I think they probably had a meeting and somebody said, what can we do to improve our profitability? Now, James, being a CEO and entrepreneur, that the way you improve profit is either on the downside by cutting costs or on the upside by growing your business, growing your sales, growing your product range. Now, if you cut your costs, there's only so far you can cut your costs before you've got nowhere else to go. You're cutting into the muscle. Whereas if you grow your business out through acquisition and marketing and doing new things, there is no potential top stop on doing that. Now, their purchase of Vine and what was the live streaming video? Was that Meerkat? No, it wasn't Meerkat.
No.
It's Periscope.
Periscope, yeah.
So those products there and Vine itself was seen as, when it was on the growth trajectory, as something which made it look good for public sale and flotation. Now, what's obviously happened is that they can't monetize any of these things. So they said, right, let's cut the thing which makes the least amount of money for us. Let's kill Vine. So it smacks of the accountants are in control and they've lost their way when it comes to strategy. Now, as soon as that starts happening at a Silicon Valley company, you've got problems.
Well, I have to disagree with you on that last sentence because if you remember when Facebook IPO'd, the biggest concern that the markets had was they had no monetization on mobile. And now more than 50% of their income is from mobile advertising. So I think the accountants controlling the company, or at least helping steer the direction, is really important because, well, if you don't keep the lights on, you lose 9% of your workforce.
Yeah, but Tesla never made any money.
Okay, well, they clearly had a different investment strategy. I mean...
well, that's true. So the question is, did they go public too quickly?
Well, yes, of course. At the end of the day, it's the investors that determine where the company is going, because at the end of the day, if they own the company, they decide. And Twitter's investors clearly aren't as confident as, say, Tesla's investors.
Indeed not. And talking of Tesla, James, Tesla has unveiled its new line of camouflaged solar panels this week. Jack Stewart reported on the 28th in Wired that Tesla CEO Elon Musk took to the stage at Universal Studios to unveil a range of textured glass tiles with integrated photovoltaic cells that are nearly indistinguishable from conventional tiling. Now, he also unveiled a sleek update to the company's energy storing Powerwall, and he did this on the row of suburban American houses of Wisteria Lane, which is an old set of the TV show Desperate Housewives. Now, the way this coating works, James, before I get your reaction to this, is a bit like those privacy screens you sometimes see on monitors, which sit on front of the monitor, and the lawyers sometimes have them, or the CEO, where you have to be sitting in a certain plane, a certain angle to see the screen, and if you kind of deviate from that, it just appears to be black. Now, this special coating becomes more or less see-through depending on your viewing angle, and they're working with 3M on the technology. And did you see the video?
Yeah, I did. Can I just say, before we start talking about the technology, Elon Musk cannot present to save his life.
Not if his life depended on it.
It was cringe-worthy watching. It was, a 20-minute video. I watched it downstairs with my wife, and she made the point, actually, before we started watching it. She said, just be warned, this guy can't present anything. And wow, she was right. It was just completely cringe. He needs to learn how to hold the remote control for his PowerPoint presentations. I mean,
it needs the clicker.
Yeah, he needs a clicker. That's, a clicker will save him. But going back to it, yes, I did see it. The technology, it's really amazing. What I found a bit interesting about it is it was a Tesla and Solar City presentation, which I believe the merger is still going through. Is it the Competition Commission or something? Whoever it is in the US is validating that. But I thought it was a little bit strange that it felt maybe like they're kind of pushing this to prove that they need to work together or something. Because Tesla had never done solar panels. Because these solar panels are being launched as Tesla products, not as Solar City products. So Solar City didn't seem to add any value to the presentation, but Elon Musk made a big deal about them being in the presentation.
Yeah, so the branding itself, if you look in this wonderful Wired article from Jack Stewart, there's a fantastic picture at the top of it, which has got Your Perfect Eco House on it. It's all kind of tight angles, Nordic wood, and big windows and solar thermal surfaces. And in the garage, you can see a Tesla Model 3 with the new Powerwall, which he also announced, which is the version 2 of Powerwall, which is effectively a big bright white rectangle, rather than being curved like the previous version, which will cost $5,500 for 14 kilowatt hours of storage with a 7 kilowatt hour peak power draw, and that's enough to power this beautiful 4-bedroom house for a day. And then you've got the tiled roof. All the roofs are tiled with these tiles, and it just looks like a regular house. And you think, wow, we are living in the future. He is painting a picture of a range of Tesla products all working together, not just the car, but the power, the way the house energy is managed, both in terms of the inputs from the photovoltaics cunningly built, woven into the design of the house, and the way that power is harvested and managed for best efficiency. So, there's a fabulous vision joining Tesla together, which is something to be admired, isn't it, Jay?
Oh, it's great. And we're certainly looking at the concept of solar. So I have to ask, as somebody with solar panels, is the Powerwall of interest to you?
Yeah, it is. So you're talking about photovoltaic. So there are two types of harvesting the power of the sun. One is through solar panels, solar thermal panels, where effectively a heat transfer fluid is passed through a sort of lattice work in a big picture frame, and the direct rays of the sun are kind of amplified with mirrors in vacuum tubes to heat this solar thermal fluid up, and then it is flushed through your hot water tank, and effectively the heat of the sun is directly transferred into the hot water system of your house, either for hot water for showers and for washing, or for heating your house. It's very efficient. Then photovoltaics are panels which convert the light energy of the sun into electricity at about 20% efficiency. And it is the electricity generated from photovoltaics, which are then stored in, lithium phosphate, lithium ion batteries inside the Tesla Powerwall. And the idea is that during the day, any energy which you don't use, instead of exporting it to the grid, which is, there'll always be somebody who can use your electricity, you actually keep it yourself in a battery pack stuck to the side of your building, and then consume it in the evening when you need more power for cooking and lighting. So as part of a sustainable system of solutions, both solar thermal, photovoltaic and battery storage, and then ultimately, of course, electric cars, which potentially could just be another battery storage source, all kind of beautifully tie together in this sort of circular, self-referential, self-sustaining transportation, heating and lighting system for your life. So it has beauty, and it's something that I'm very interested in. But it only really works when you've got all of them, if you see what I mean.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, but then you've got electric. I mean, you're the perfect kind of case study for this, right? You've got electric cars, you've got solar panels. I mean, do you know today how much of your electricity comes from the grid and how much comes from your roof?
Yes, yeah, I do. So during the day, we use, there are mechanical ways. So what you can do is there's a thing called an ImmerSun, which you can attach to your you can get yourself a big hot water boiler. And when you're generating more electricity than you're consuming, instead of exporting the electricity to the grid so that your neighbor can use it, and then, that you get paid 3p per kilowatt hour for doing this. Instead of doing that, you actually just heat hot water. So you take electric energy from your PVs and heat the water up. The idea is to generate enough electricity for your own use and no more. And that's the most efficient way to do it, because you're not then dependent on the grid to share with people. And it's the same if you throw wind into the mix as well, where you're actually doing community-based windmills. They can generate 9 kilowatts, 15 kilowatt hours, a lot of power. That only makes sense, really, if you've got a small neighborhood or a village or something like that. But the idea is to create communities of dwellings and houses and vehicles which don't really overall don't draw any resources from the center. And the reason why this is good is because it's renewable. A, we live in a rich country. B, we can afford it. And C, it means there's less reliance on nuclear and less reliance on coal-fired or gas-powered. We're burning less hydrocarbons.
Yeah, no,
it's better for the green.
It definitely makes a lot of sense. So going back to the story, I think that it's a very interesting thing that Tesla are doing. The tiles looked amazing. I mean, you really couldn't tell. I mean, when you watch the video, you kind of assume that there's one of the houses but when they unveil that 3 of the houses have got these panels on and all different types and whatever, it was pretty impressive, I have to say. So it's a very bright future that Elon Musk is presenting. And Tesla did, in fact, post a profit last quarter. So, They did. You're absolutely right. They did. They're the right thing.
So great products. I don't think there's any kind of techtasm here apart from Elon Musk's need to get a clicker. Now, on Techtasm, James, we try to find one stupid story each week. Is this it? Google are trying to invent the whiteboard, according to Computer World. This week, the Jamboard is a cloud service 55-inch display.
Sorry, can you say that again? The Jamboard.
Jamboard, yes.
I don't like interrupting you, but that couldn't go without. No.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Jambutty is a massive touch display and accompanying cloud service that will supposedly help business brainstorm together better. Now, there's a lovely video in the Computer World article. It's a YouTube video which explains it. And like every Google video, it makes it look fantastic. At the moment, this product is only in private beta for business customers of Google's G Suite productivity service offering and will be generally available next year. But effectively, to describe it, it's a big TV on a stand with a plug, and it's got a little sort of tray underneath the screen on which there is a circular eraser, a pen, and I don't even know what the other one does, a swipey stick, which allows you to interact with the board. And people can also join in the collaboration on their iOS devices and their Android tablets and phones. And of course, you can hook multiple Jamboards together in different sites to collaborate together. Now, I think this has been done before, hasn't it, James?
Yeah, Microsoft Surface springs to mind, and it didn't do particularly well. Although, to be fair, Microsoft has a big history of launching something it didn't do well and somebody else does it better. The tablet springs to mind. Yeah, it has been done a few times before. That is, I mean, I'm looking through the article. The
Surface Hub, the Microsoft one, the Microsoft Surface Hub, which comes in 84-inch and 55-inch. This is virtually the same thing.
Yeah, and look, to be honest, there needs to be, a lot of different companies kind of attacking this and whatever else. It just seems like I don't mean to jump to the punch really, but this is just a massive Techtasm to me.
Well, they're not revealing the final pricing, but it's expected to be about $6,000 at release. Are you going to buy one?
I'm a balls. I mean, come on. This is just... It's
a big Techtasm, isn't it? All over it. Microsoft have tried, and they have got fantastic connectivity with Enterprise, and they couldn't even sell their Surface Hub device to anyone that I know. So I think this is the Techtasm.
Yeah, can we move on?
I got one more for you, James, and then that's it for today.
Okay.
It's another piece of hardware which is strangely a bit like the Jamboard.
Okay.
Now, the nameless journo droid in the BBC this week reported on the 26th about the Surface Studio PC. Now, what this is an all-in-one desktop called the Surface Studio, which is about a 23-inch, I think it's a 23-inch, 28-inch. It's quite a big touch screen with a sort of pen attached to the side, yawn, running Windows 10, which you can then tilt back. You kind of push it away from you, and it tilts back down to about 30 degrees. And it comes with this little eraser. It's a little, I suppose you'd describe it as a knob.
Yeah.
It's kind of big white knob that you can turn and twiddle, but you can also put it on the screen and turn it. And as you connect it to the screen, obviously some sense technology inside the screen detects its presence and will, for example, throw up a color wheel around it and allow you to, as you turn it on a sort of axis point, it allows you to pick the color. So it's obviously directed at creatives. You impressed, James?
I have to say, when I saw the Surface Dial, the knob, as it shall be known in the UK from now on, it looked really impressive and very nicely integrated. It was, of course, a marketing video, so it was bound to be. I'm curious to know how it could be used for other applications. The idea of something covering the screen is interesting. What's quite impressive, though, is the size of the display in its thinness is really impressive. I mean, super impressive. If you scroll down on that BBC article right to the bottom, thank you, nameless journo droid, that picture of Panos Panay stroking his Surface is really quite something.
Yes, at least he's not stroking his
other Surface
Dial. I was going to say white knob, but that would have been inappropriate. Well, look, the Surface Studio costs between $2,999 and $4,199 when it goes on sale in the US on the 15th of December. And I would say, while they've had some success with the Surface and Surface Pro lineup, sales of PC and tablet computers are experiencing their second consecutive year of decline. And Gartner are forecasting that after an 8.7% fall this year, sales will see a slightly smaller dip in 2017 and then return to growth in 2018. So writing's on the wall, isn't it, for this sort of device? I mean, you've got to give Microsoft credit for trying like crazy to make the Surface line work.
It's definitely innovative. I think, not to read too much into the numbers, but certainly in my household here, we've got 3 iPads of varying ages not wanting to upgrade because I don't see the point. They all run Netflix, so what do we need a different one for? So I think that's the general problem with technology. They have to innovate every year and every year and every year, but in reality, there aren't that many people out there who will keep buying a new one every year. And most people today have got a tablet, so I don't need another one. The Surface Studio, I don't actually know where it fits in the world. It's really great, but home users...
Isn't it the iPad Pro?
It is. It's the iPad Pro running a proper operating system, I guess.
Coded message.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I don't know. Would Techtasm or not?
I don't know. I kind of my love of Microsoft want to say no, but I don't actually understand what it's for, other than the Surface dong that it comes with. I don't quite understand its purpose in life.
I'm going to have to call this one a Techtasm, I think.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
it will come here and it will fade in the same way that the Microsoft Surface Hub has arrived and faded, though I do not have any sales figures to back that up, dear listener. But when did facts ever get in the way of a Techtasm story? Would you, Adam and Eve it, James? We've reached the end of this week's show. And listeners, you can find us at facebook.com/Techtasm or subscribe in the usual places. Contact us at feedback@techtasm.com. And as James joked at the beginning of the show, we do record every Tuesday, most Tuesdays, the last 2 Tuesdays at 2100 BST GMT. So tune in next week to see if we manage to get 3 on the bounce. But in the meantime, this is me, Sir Robin Yellow.
And me, James Woodall.
Asking the question on your behalf, is it real or is it just a Techtasm?